Now on to Delhi NCR. A large part of people gathered at India Gate on Sunday to protest against the rising air pollution in the region. The protesters are many of them young people. They raised slogans. They demanded urgent action to improve the air quality in the national capital. So much so that police had to later remove them from the site. Now viewers, this is not the first such protest. Earlier this month, citizens also gathered at the same location, urging government to implement stronger policies to tackle this menace of rising pollution. And in fact, this comes as Delhi's air quality continues to remain in the dangerous category. If I have to give you a number, the city recorded an AQI of 391. This falls in the very poor category. Pollution levels still remain high despite GRAP stage 4 restrictions already getting enforced across Delhi and NCR. So the situation on the ground is grim.
दिल्ली में जो AQI के राइजिंग लेवल्स हो रहे हैं, चाहे AQI 1000 के पार जा रहा हो या फिर 2023 में 17,000 लोग मर रहे हो, इतना ज्यादा एयर पोल्यूशन होने की वजह से सिर्फ दिल्ली में, इसमें हम सब देखते हैं कि इसका रीजन इंपीरियलिस्ट डेवलपमेंट मॉडल है, प्रॉफिट ड्रिवन डेवलपमेंट मॉडल है। ये जनता का डेवलपमेंट मॉडल नहीं है और हमको जनता का डेवलपमेंट मॉडल लाने की जरूरत है, जो माओइस्ट बीजापुर में लेकर आए हैं, जो माओइस्ट बस्तर में लेकर आए हैं अपने जनता सरकार के थ्रू। वहाँ पर सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट किया जाता है, वहाँ पर महुआली तेंदुपत्ता को सस्टेनेबल तरीके से तोड़ा जाता है, वहाँ पर बाहर के जो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स हैं उनको अंदर नहीं आने देता है और वहाँ पर जो फार्मिंग होती है वो कलेक्टिव होती है। हमको वैसी चीज वर्ल्ड ओवर लेकर आनी है, क्योंकि जंगल सिर्फ दिल्ली के नहीं काटे जा रहे, इंडिया के नहीं काटे जा रहे, पूरे भारत के काटे जा रहे हैं।
My demands are firstly to implement work from home, secondly for schooling to be online, because in this condition it will only give rise to pulmonary diseases, which is on the rise, and we're here not exactly just protesting against the Delhi government, because this is a bilateral issue combining a lot of state governments, and hence it is our demand that the government stops filtering out data, they stop hiding data, because पहली बात तो वो acknowledge नहीं करते कि air pollution is a real threat to us, air pollution is an actual problem, and unless and until they acknowledge and accept the fact that air pollution is a problem.
And now viewers, a new study has raised serious health concerns in the state of Bihar, revealing the presence of uranium in the breast milk lactating mothers across multiple districts. Now researchers found uranium in all 40 samples they analyzed, with the highest average contamination in Khagadia and the highest individual levels reported in Katihar. The study warns that around 70% of the infants now examined as a part of this study could face potential non-carcinogenic health risks. Long-term uranium exposure in infants may also affect kidney development, neurological functions and overall cognitive outcomes as well. However, experts emphasize that the uranium levels detected are still below the global safety limits and are unlikely to cause significant health impact. They stress that breastfeeding should continue, as most uranium absorbed by mothers is excreted through urine and does not accumulate heavily in breast milk. Researchers also say that this is an early warning and also a call for expanded testing of heavy metals as well as environmental pollutants in other states as well. Remember, this study is based from Bihar. In fact, uranium contamination is known to seep into groundwater naturally and through mining, coal burning, industrial activities as well as fertilizer use. So the study here highlights the urgent need for regular monitoring of groundwater as well as breast milk to better understand the risks and protect mothers and infants from toxic exposure.
इस स्टडी के अंदर हमने पाया कि जो लैक्टेटिंग मदर्स हैं, जो उनका मिल्क है, दूध है, जिसको एक नवजात बच्चा पीता है, उसमें यूरेनियम की मात्रा हमको मिली, जो कि खगड़िया डिस्ट्रिक्ट में सबसे ज़्यादा थी, 5.25 माइक्रोन पर लीटर, और नालंदा डिस्ट्रिक्ट से जो हमने सब्जेक्ट एनरोल किए उनमें कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ यूरेनियम की कम थी। तो ये जो यूरेनियम है एक नेचुरल रेडियोएक्टिव एलिमेंट्स होता है और वहाँ के ग्राउंड वाटर्स के अंदर भी इसकी कंसंट्रेशन हमको मिली। अब वो ग्राउंड वाटर में ये कहाँ से आ रहा है, ये अभी जांच का विषय है, इसके बारे में हमें कुछ पता नहीं। दिस स्टडी वी फोकस ऑन टू एनालाइज द concentration of uranium in the breast lactating mother milk. So that is our main question about that. And this study conducted in, as you know, 6 different districts, and we enrolled 40 participants in this study, which age from 70 to 35-year old. And this study conducted in Mahavir Cancer Center Sansthan under Dr. Arun Kumar, Professor Ashok Ghosh, and lot of Naipar, Hajipur, and other people we are together conducted this study. And we find very surprising result that the lowest concentration of the uranium, around 2.35 microgram per liter in the Nalanda, and highest concentration in the Katihar, 5.25 microgram per liter. But presently there are no specified permission limit or benchmark for the uranium concentration in the breast milk. But according to WHO, they are 30 microgram per liter is the permissible limit for drinking water. So this area we found very high concentration of this urine. So there no need to panic. So this is an ongoing study funded by Indian Council of Medical Research to create a data so that will help to make a better policy for the humankind.
And now Justice Suryakant will be sworn in as India's 53rd Chief Justice, and for the first time ever, an international delegation will attend the ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Top judges and Chief Justices from about 6 nations, including Bhutan, Kenya, Malaysia, Mauritius, Nepal, as well as Sri Lanka, will be present at the ceremony. Now, Justice Suryakant's journey is a story of steady rise and strong service to the law. Born on 10th February 1962 in Hisar, Haryana, he completed his law degree from Maharishi Dayanand University in 1984 and then began his legal practice the same year at Hisar District Court. In the year 1985, he moved to Chandigarh to practice at the Punjab and Haryana High Court, specializing in constitutional, service and civil matters. Further, he went on to represent major universities, boards, corporations, banks and even the High Court itself. At just the age of 38, he became the youngest Advocate General of Haryana in July 2000 and was then designated a senior advocate in 2001. Then following in 2004, he was elevated as a judge of the Punjab and Haryana High Court. Now, Justice Suryakant also served 2 terms on the National Legal Services Authority's governing body and continues to be a part of important committees of the Indian Law Institute. In the year 2011, he in fact topped his master's degree in law from Kurukshetra University. He then became the Chief Justice of Himachal Pradesh High Court in the year 2018 and was then elevated to the Supreme Court in May of 2019. Currently, he now serves as the chairman of the Supreme Court Legal Services Committee. In fact, Justice Suryakant is set to retire on 9th February 2027. So that's how his journey is looking, as he will now take oath as the Chief Justice of India. Now moving on, the Union Home Ministry has told the Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh High Court that it is actively considering the CBI's request to sanction prosecution of about 8 IAS officers in multi-crore J&K gun license scam. Now the process of clarification is now complete, with both J&K administration and the CBI now responding to all queries raised by the ministry. The officers allegedly issued thousands of gun licenses between the year 2012 and 2016 during their tenure as the district magistrates across multiple districts. At this point, the CBI is investigating the irregularities in over 2.74 lakh licenses issued for monetary gain, a scam which is estimated to be at more than rupees 100 crore. The High Court has now adjourned the matter to December 30th as a formal decision from the Home Ministry is expected soon. And now Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has struck a new political chord, saying that Sindh may not be part of India today but remains integral to India's civilizational identity. He recalled L.K. Advani's writings on how generations of Sindhi Hindus never accepted the separation of Sindh, also noting the deep cultural and spiritual reverence shared for the Indus River across communities. Now, the minister also added that borders can change and suggested that one day Sindh could return to India.
आडवाणी जी ने अपनी एक पुस्तक में लिखा है कि सिंधी हिंदू और विशेषकर उनकी पीढ़ी के लोग अभी भी भारत से सिंध को अलग करने की बात को स्वीकार नहीं कर पाए हैं। न केवल सिंध में बल्कि पूरे भारत में हिंदू सिंधु नदी को पवित्र मानते थे। सिंध के कई मुसलमान भी मानते थे कि सिंधु का जल मक्का के आबे जमजम से कम पवित्र नहीं है। यह मैं उनका कोट बतला रहा हूं, यह अडवाणी जी का कोट है। आज सिंध की भूमि, मेरे बहनों भाइयों, यह भारत का हिस्सा भले ही न हो, लेकिन सभ्यतागत रूप से सिंध हमेशा भारत का हिस्सा रहेगा। और जहां तक जमीन की बात है तो बॉर्डर्स तो बदल सकते हैं, क्या पता कल को सिंध भारत में फिर से वापस आ जाए।
And now in a major milestone for India's maritime capabilities, the first indigenous Mahi-class anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft is now set to join the Indian Navy today in Mumbai. Now built with over 80% indigenous content, Mahi showcases the nation's advancing expertise in warship design, construction and complex systems integration. Its commissioning today marks India's growing commitment to self-reliance in defence manufacturing, while strengthening Navy's future-ready fleet to counter underwater threats. Designed to hunt submarines, conduct coastal patrols and safeguard India's vital maritime approaches, the Mahi class represents the cutting edge of the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative in naval shipbuilding.
Target Alpha bearing 050.
Excelente fire launch. OW, full head engines.
प्रचंड